You know, they give me the good and the bad. They don't let me get away with anything. They show me where I'm getting maybe too high and mighty, or where I'm getting too low and not in touch with my own power. And at the same time, sleep has become for me that ground, that entryway into dreams. So sleep has become a revered, almost sacred part of my day that I look forward to, because it gives me rest, it gives me nourishment, nurturing, and it gives me dreams. But listen, not everybody feels that way. For most people, they avoid sleep, or they're frustrated by sleep, they're anxious about sleep. And dreams, a lot of people just don't even want to go there. So in 2017, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention said that our sleep loss was at epidemic proportions. They called this a public health epidemic. Okay? Now add a pandemic to that, and I think we can say that we have a sleep pandemic. You know, I can't see you right now, but I'm guessing if I asked for a show of hands who's had trouble sleeping this past year, or have your sleep issues got worse, or if your sleep has changed. Some people are remembering more dreams, some people having more nightmares, some people having more vivid dreams. Some people are sleeping better because they don't have a commute to work for some, and so they don't have to wake up with an alarm clock. But most people I talk to have had some sleepless nights in this past year, and studies and statistics are showing that it's really a pretty big problem. And it was before. It was before. It's only gotten worse. So I think there's a good reason for this. Sleep and dreams are not winning any popularity contests. And as much as I love my relationship to sleep and dreams, I can understand why. So let's think about this for a minute. Let's think about what's involved in going to sleep and why people might not be rushing to do it. So, first of all, to sleep, we need to get still, right? We can't be running around like we're doing all day. We need to get quiet. And most of the time during the day, we've got lots of input, either work or output. Either we're talking, or we're online, or we're on a podcast, or, okay? And then there's the darkness, and we already talked about that. People are uncomfortable with the dark, both the physical dark, the literal darkness, and the metaphorical darkness, the mystery, the unknown, the questions, okay? Then when we lie down and we fall asleep, what happens to our body is that our senses are muted. So this is a very vulnerable position, right? Very interesting when you think about evolution and survival of a species, that to lie down in the darkness with your senses muted, so you can smell but not as well. You can hear but not as well. You cannot see, your eyes are closed. It's a very vulnerable position. So we can start to understand why this makes people anxious. And then it gets worse. During REM sleep, when we're dreaming, our body temporarily paralyzes itself. So this is for about 25% of the time you are asleep, you are paralyzed. So that's to protect you from acting out your dreams, which can become very dangerous. When there is a sleep disorder where people act out their dreams, and it's a life and death issue because they can dream that they're flying and in their sleeping state, jump out a window. So it's serious. But for most of us, it's just a healthy part of sleep that to protect our bed partners and ourselves, we are temporarily paralyzed while we're dreaming. So add to this that our brains are very active. Our brains are more active when we are dreaming and sleeping than when we are awake in most states, in most stages of sleep, but specifically in REM sleep, when most dreams take place, our brain is more active than awake. So this is a particular problem because we're in a distraction-free environment. We can't soothe ourselves with checking our phone, checking our social media, all the things we normally do to distract us from any uncomfortable thoughts. We can't do that while we're sleeping. We have to be there, quiet and still in the dark, paralyzed with our senses muted, and deal with the thoughts and feelings we might have been running from all day long. And it gets even worse. We're low on serotonin, so the neurochemical stew that your brain is in when you are sleeping is low on those those neurochemicals, the brain chemicals that make us happy. Serotonin is one of them, and I'm bad at pronunciation, so I'm just going to leave it at that. But you get the picture, and this also lets you know why you should never let yourself think too much when you're lying in bed at night, because your life always looks much worse. You've probably had that experience of wake up at 4 in the morning, you can't get back to sleep, and everything seems terrible. During the day, you might have been perfectly happy, but suddenly your marriage seems off, your job seems horrible, little problems loom large. It's because we don't have serotonin and other new mood-boosting neurochemicals to help us out. And then, of course, we're vulnerable to nightmares when we sleep and dream, and nightmares can be really scary. And nightmares make some people just want to avoid sleep altogether, and that causes insomnia. It's like a syndrome, okay? So what do we do about this? Difficulty sleeping? We're Americans, so what do we turn to? Pills, medicine, medication. Okay, sleep must be pretty valuable to us because we pay a high price for it. This statistic is a few years old. It just keeps going up. But as a country, we spend more than $41 billion on sleep medicine, sleep treatments, etc. It's a lot of money, but it might be well worth it if it bought us a good night's sleep. But all that money is buying us 11 to 20 minutes of sleep in a night. 11 to 20 minutes. Somebody can do a cost analysis of that. It's not good, okay? Meanwhile, it's really not helping very much. And not to mention the priceless benefits of sleep to our health and happiness. So we're spending all this money, we're not getting much of a return on our investment. And our lack of sleep is costing us our health. So lack of sleep is associated with heart problems, conditions like Alzheimer's, diabetes, depression, and happiness and well-being. So this is a big problem, very big problem. And one more thing I want to add to this that doesn't often get talked about is our sleep loss also includes dream loss. So when we're in touch with our dreams, we have a source of inner wisdom and guidance. Dreams put us in touch with our intuition, and we're going to talk a little bit more about this, but people like myself, I was mentioning my dreams have been like a best friend, like a realtor. They've been a matchmaker. I found my husband thanks to my dreams. And I can't tell you how much they help us with relationships. We'll talk more about that. But since we don't pay much attention to dreams and dreams aren't valued in our culture, we end up forgetting most of those dreams. They go down the drain with the shower water before we even get to the breakfast table. And the fact is that dreaming is a very good reason to get some sleep. Dreaming, whether we remember them or not, whether or not we remember dreams, they are helping us. They help us with emotional regulation, problem solving, and that's because, again, the neurochemical stew that our mind is steeped in while we sleep favors random associations, and that helps us solve problems. That's why we say sleep on it, and you wake up with an insight. Dreams help with memory consolidation, and they also help with learning. So storing away memories that we don't need to access, filing them away, and helping us access the ones we do need. Dreams are a great source of creativity, artwork, poetry, songs. The song Yesterday, a lot of Beatles hits came from dreams, Billy Joel too. You can tell what era I'm from, but it continues to this day. And as I mentioned, getting in touch with your dreams, learning how to deal with your nightmares will help you sleep better. And a lot of inventions have come from dreams. So the electric sewing machine, without which we couldn't have had the Industrial Revolution, came in a dream to Elias Howe. Google was basically downloaded to Larry Page in the middle of the night in a dream state. So lots and lots of inventions. I could go on and on about that. And again, because it helps with emotional regulation, because dreams are so full of creativity and unique ways of thinking, when we get in touch with our dreams and learn to welcome them, they make us happier. So to get to all these dreams, to get to all these sleep, what do? Well, I'm going to tell you the truth. So we've figured out so far that the pills and the potions don't really work, not very well and not for a long time. And what does work, you don't need me. You don't even need my book, although I think you'll enjoy it. I'll tell you a little bit about that later. All you really need is the wisdom your grandma gave you or your mom. Sleep hygiene, we call it these days. I hate that term, sleep hygiene. It sounds clinical. It sounds something you get prescribed at the doctor's office. And that, it just doesn't sound cozy to me. I like the picture better, how this guy looks with his teddy bear. To me, I would call it a sleep hygge. That's that Dutch word for getting cozy. Instead of hygiene, hygge, which is spelled very similar. Hygge is H-Y-G-G-E. So we want sleep coziness, but it's what your grandma told you, right? Get to bed on time, sleep in an area that's dark, that's clear of distractions, wind down before bed. And this is where some nice yoga stretches come in, a little hand massage, a foot massage, read a book. A boring book is even better. Take a nice bath. And try to wake up at about the same time every day. This is real basic advice. It is easy, right? No, it's not easy because guess what? We don't do it. So that's why we need to try a different approach. Because if we fail to make space for sleep and dreams, we're actually robbing ourselves of our richest waking experiences. This is a contradiction. We say we don't have time to sleep because we have so much to do. We want to live life to the fullest. I'll sleep when I'm dead. You heard people say that, right? But the truth is, we're robbing ourselves of our happiness when we don't get enough sleep because we're not at our top performance. So we've talked about what doesn't work. Let's talk about what actually does work. So we talked about how anxiety, depression are byproducts of not enough sleep. They keep us from sleeping well and deeply. And things like mindfulness, meditation have been proven to work as well as, and in most cases, much better than medication over the long term. So part of this approach is to set an intention to get a good night's sleep. So one way to set an intention is to look at what you say about sleep, what your beliefs are about sleep, and to see if you can find a positive affirmation about sleep. Start by telling yourself, tonight, I look forward to getting into bed. We set an intention by showing our commitment. So as we change into our pajamas, we can reaffirm the intention, remind ourselves that we are intending to make sleep a time of comfort, a time we value. So we can say things like, I value sleep and dreams as we're getting into our pajamas. As we wash our face and brush our teeth, we can set an intention again. I'm letting go of my stress. I'm washing away my stress as I wash my face. I'm letting go of all my to-dos as I watch the water go down the drain. Just let yourself set a firm intention in a positive way of what you plan to experience with sleep and dreams as you prepare for bed. A lot of people balk when they hear about meditating, but you don't need to do anything extreme. You don't have to upend your schedule, but you can take 5 minutes at the end of the day to sit down and listen to silence. So I invite you to do that tonight, after this talk perhaps, anytime between dinner and bedtime. Take 5 minutes and just pay attention to the quietest sound. And then listen for what's even quieter. And then listen inside and see if you can find the silence inside yourself. And for 5 minutes, that needs to be your only thought. I'm going to listen to the quiet inside me. There are lots of forms of meditation. That's just a real easy one that doesn't involve watching the breath, because if you're anxious, watching the breath might be very uncomfortable for you. And these days we have a lot of anxiety. So this is one of my favorites. We've learned, a lot of us growing up were told to count sheep if we can't sleep. But what works even better is to count your blessings, count your gratitudes before sleep. So it has been shown in studies that positive thoughts at bedtime and in the night help us sleep better and have better dreams. So if you're the type who makes a gratitude list, make that list before bed, maybe in your journal, or you can just think through your gratitude list as you're falling asleep. And I'm going to add to that in a moment. The other thing you want to do is start to have a friendly relationship with your dreams. So a good way to start is just to be aware that you have dreams, to get curious about your dreams, and maybe even when you have a dream, write it down in a journal or notebook. And just that very act of writing it down sometimes will give you some insight. But it will also help you remember more dreams. And you don't have to spend a lot of time at this. Even if it's a long dream, you can just take a few notes on it. So all of those things are going to help you to befriend sleep and dreams, and to sleep and dream better. I'm going to stop the share because I want to just sort of give you a couple of other tips that will help. And one of my favorite is what I call meditations. So for some of you, you have trouble falling asleep. Some of you, I'm sure, have trouble staying asleep. Some of you wake in the middle of the night and you just toss and turn. Have I covered all of you by now? Is there anybody who feels left out? Like, oh no, my trouble with sleep's a little different. That mostly covers it, right? So I mentioned that meditation helps, and some of you are going to say, I've tried that, and I'm in this club too. I've tried it, I try it again and again, I just don't have time. Right? People in this club? Well, you don't need time for meditation. If I really recommend trying at least 5 minutes, and I would recommend up to 20 or more. But even if you don't get there, you know, let's get real, it doesn't always happen. You can meditate. Okay, that's what I call meditating in bed. So in traditional meditation, you don't want to fall asleep, right? In really traditional meditation, some monk would come by with his stick and knock you on the shoulder, you know, to wake you up if you fell asleep. But meditation, if you fall asleep, that's great, because then you fell asleep and that was your goal. And if you don't fall asleep, that's great, because you're lying in bed, getting peaceful. You're relaxing and you're getting rest. And that's key. So I mentioned one meditation, which is to listen to the silence. And I'm going to tell you another one that also ties in with the think positive part of this, right? I told you about gratitude lists and all that. So we're going to do this one together. This is meditating on what's good. And you might have heard of it. You might have heard of the gratitude alphabet. And what it is you go through the alphabet and you think of something you're grateful for each letter. So for A, maybe you're grateful to apples or your best friend Anne or whatever it might be, right? So in meditation, you go through the alphabet. This is just one of many. You can use any meditation that you would use awake. You could use it in bed. While you're sleeping, just lie down and do your meditation lying down, okay? And it will help you either relax and rest or go into sleep and dreams. So let's just do the gratitude alphabet together now. Normally you would do it in bed. You're lying down. You're just thinking through the letters of the alphabet. But for now, why don't you all put in chat something that would go into your gratitude alphabet, but use the letter of your first name. And if you want to do two, do your first name and your last name. So I'm Tzivia Gover. I would do T because my first name starts with T, and G for Gover. So I'm grateful for, oh my goodness, so many things that start with T. The telephone, because I love to be connected to people. So go ahead and chat and just do yours. There are no wrong answers. Nice. So Mary for K would have her kids. Oh, Pat, nice job. Play.
I don't know how to chat.
Oh, say it out loud then. What would yours be? I'll type it in for you.
Okay, it's MN, so many friends and nice days.
Oh, beautiful.
Okay.
And so then as you were falling asleep, you would just think about those things, laughing, downtime. Anybody else need me to type in for them?
How do you chat though?
There's a little bubble at the bottom of your screen if you.
Oh, okay, I see it now.
Yeah, good. And that's fun. Enjoy it. music, my lovely daughter Anne, and my Kindle for Kay, sunshine from Sharon, joy from Judith. So imagine lying in bed and instead of thinking, oh my God, it's 3 a.m., I can't sleep, if you were going through your alphabet and you were thinking about the joy of your children and play and many friends and laughing and nice days, right? So that just really changes it. Lovely. Husband, family, so you've got your H's and your K's. So that's one meditation, okay? Any meditation you do or that you've learned, that you read about in Oprah magazine, you can do those in bed. And I have several of them in my book. And again, I don't focus too much on meditations that have to do with breath, because if we're anxious, that's going to be tricky. Okay, and we get anxious in bed, sleeping and dreaming, even if we're not normally the anxious sort. So let's see what your questions are. So somebody asked, how do we keep the serotonin level throughout the night? You can't. So this, I mean, you can take pills, but I don't recommend it. So it is natural for your serotonin and a set of, I'm terrible at pronunciation, so you can read the scientific words in my book. It is perfectly natural for those levels to go down. And that's okay. That's natural and normal part of sleep. But how you can work with that is, remember, if you wake up in the middle of the night and you're stressed about something, you need to stop thinking about it. Easier said than done, because your thoughts are going to go to negative places because you don't have your serotonin. So do a meditation instead. I even, if I'm really anxious, so I recommend, and I live and preach, don't keep your cell phone by your bed. It's a distraction. There's study after study, it is not helping you sleep. But if I am really stressed, I will put my phone by my bed. I will put it in airplane mode. Put it in airplane mode, which means that no signals can come in. You know, it is now no longer useful for talking, chatting, or going on the internet. And what I can do, though, is I have loaded onto my phone some relaxation tapes, so I can listen to those. And that's a way to deal with the low serotonin. So to keep your mind off of ruminating thoughts and put your mind onto something positive, the gratitude alphabet, for example. What other questions do you have? What should I do when I wake up in the middle of the night completely wired and I'm awake for a few hours? So one thing that I recommend, first of all, you're not alone at all. I always wish that we could sort of see a screen just like this that shows us who's awake at night. You know, who of our friends, you know, we would see that we could all like get together and have a party at probably 4 in the morning is the key time. So what do you do? Well, I'm going to sound a little bit like a broken record. Some people say get out of bed and try it. There's not a one-size-fits-all answer. Some people say get out of bed, do another activity, and then when you feel sleepy, come back to bed. That doesn't work for me, and it's not what I suggest. So for a mindful way, I suggest, again, doing one of these meditations. You can literally meditate on your racing mind by just watching it. Pretend you're over here, just a little bit up and outside of your mind, and watch yourself lying in bed worrying. That can be extremely relaxing because you're getting that little bit of separation. The other thing to do is to find a mantra, something very simple. For me, sometimes meditating on the word light or peace can help. And again, I have a few other meditation type focuses that you can use in my book, one of which we can try it now if you'd like. Would you like to try? Sure. Okay. So one of which is do it with me. We'll only do it for a moment or two. In bed, you'll do this longer because if we do it too long, you'll fall asleep. Okay. So you're going to just get comfortable, not too comfortable. Normally, you know, if we were in meditation, I'd try to get you real comfortable, but I don't want you to fall asleep right now. So let your eyes close. And notice the darkness behind your eyes. So just notice the darkness you see with your eyes closed. Keep relaxing your eyelids when you do this. You can start squinting if you're not careful, even with your eyes closed. So relax your eyelids. Relax the corners of your eyes. As you just watch the darkness behind your eyes. And you'll start to notice that there are patches that are lighter than others. So just start to notice the different areas of dark and a little bit lighter. And you might start to notice little waves of light, even with your eyes closed. And just notice them. Keep relaxing your eyes. And those waves of light might start to turn to prickles of light or circles of light. Just keep watching. And we're going to open our eyes now. But if you kept doing this, you might start to notice colors, little light patches of different colors. Some of you are nodding. Maybe that started to happen. And then you might even start to see little dreams start to appear. So some swamis and gurus and, you know, very accomplished meditators do this to watch themselves fall asleep so that you never quite lose consciousness. You can actually see yourself moving from awake to asleep to dreaming. It's fascinating. But we're not all going to be great yogis and swamis. But we can all use this exercise to fall asleep. I did it a few nights ago and I did see the dream. This happens from time to time. I actually do that. I actually see the dreams start to form. And that's really cool. So, but most of the times all it does is help me relax, focus on something other than my thoughts, and fall asleep. What were the other questions here? Clouds of, yeah, so during that meditation, you might see clouds of different colors. Yeah, like a lava lamp. That's so cool. Does drinking milk help you get back to sleep? Actually, yes. That's one of those old wives' tales. I find the old wives tend to be quite wise, but milk has calcium and magnesium, and those are things that help us sleep. So warm milk before bed does help. Melatonin is one of some, I'm just reading from the questions now in case you're thinking I'm just on stream of consciousness here. Melatonin, someone's asking about. I find melatonin to be really useful and it's been shown to be healthy with very few side effects. So that's a supplement if you're not familiar with it. For some people, melatonin can cause intense dreams, which for some is good and some is uncomfortable. So there's no one size fits all answer. And since I'm not a doctor, I'll never tell you to take a pill or not take a pill. But, you know, definitely check with medical professions. Is it bad to keep the radio on all night? Before I met my husband, he did that. And he said, oh yeah, no, it helps me sleep. Keeping anything on all night really is going to keep your sleep lighter. So it becomes a crutch. TV, some people like to run the TV while they're sleeping and they say it doesn't affect their sleep, but it does. My brother was in that category and there was a blackout. When there's a blackout, he'll go stay at a hotel because he needs his TV to sleep, he says. But during the pandemic, there was a blackout and he couldn't run to a hotel. And so he had to sleep without the TV. He's my brother. So he comes to my talks. He's heard this a million times. He's read my book. I've been telling him forever, get rid of that TV in the bedroom. Lo and behold, pandemic, he can't escape, no TV. Tzivia, I slept like a baby last night. So I'm sorry, radio, TV, they're a crutch. If you can, try not to. Is there a method for directing your dream? Oh, yes, and there is. That is what we call lucid dreaming. And I sort of slipping in some sort of PhD level sleep and dream stuff for you all. So that exercise about watching the light and the dark can help you get into a lucid dream state where you know you're dreaming while you're dreaming. This is a state that's been used for spiritual seekers and teachers for centuries. A lot of people now discover the state where it's a hybrid state of consciousness, where your prefrontal cortex, your daytime thinking mind, and your sleeping brain are both online together. And so you're dreaming, but you can direct your dream. A lot of people use it for play, so that they can direct their dreams. Oh, now I can go meet some great romantic partner, or I can travel to Timbuktu. And you can, that's fun. But you can also use this state to develop your spiritual goals. So lucid dreaming is a lot of fun. That is one of the many things I teach. What do I do when I wake up completely wide awake? We talked about that, Mary. Who else? Why does the milk have to be warm? Well, that's a fine question. It doesn't. It doesn't have to be warm. In fact, you could take, if you take, again, I'm not going to tell you what pills to take and not take, but if you take calcium, you could decide instead of taking it in the morning to take it in the evening, because it's the calcium and the magnesium in the milk that help you sleep, or in any food. So it doesn't have to be warm, but it certainly is cozier that way. White noise can be very helpful. So white noise is different from listening to a radio because it's just a very repetitive noise. So using a fan or a white noise machine can be quite helpful. I love somebody, this is somebody who said that, I won't say your name out loud unless you text it to everybody, message to everybody, in case you wanted to keep your question private. But somebody said that they sometimes think that they completed a task, but it turns out it was something they did in a dream. So you're probably a pretty vivid dreamer. Welcome to my club. And yeah, sometimes one of the side effects of being a vivid dreamer is occasionally you're not sure if you actually did something in waking life or you just dreamed it. So that does happen. Is it bad to read a bit if you wake up in the night? So Doris, no, it's not bad to read a little. That can help get you sleepy again. The problem with that is if you have a partner, a bed partner, and then you're going to end up waking them up too. In that case, I'd say I'm a big fan of dimmer switches on a bedside lamp, dimmer switch, so that you can just have enough light, just as much light as you need. And then as you get drowsy, you can turn it off and fall asleep. So that's great, a lot of questions. I think that I think that is probably plenty. I don't want me or any of you to get overtired on Zoom or with any of the rest. So what I'd like to do before we leave is we'll use the chat one more time. And again, if you have trouble with the chat, just tell me and I'll help you, or one of the librarians will type in for you. But take a moment now to think back over this hour together. I forgot to do one thing. May I back up for a moment? I forget this is a book talk. I get so excited, as you can tell, talking about sleep and dreams, that sometimes I forget the basics. So this is a book talk, and we are at a library, so let's talk about the book just for a moment. So this is my book, The Mindful Way to a Good Night's Sleep. I don't know if you can see it, You know, they say you can't judge a book by its cover. You can judge a lot by this cover. It's textured, if you can feel it. It's just really beautiful. Story Publishing, who made this book, designs just very beautiful books. So look at this book, look at all the books from Story Publishing. But what's inside is a lot of what we've done today. There are quotes, there are very small nuggets of information. There are little tips about how to get a better night's sleep, what you can do to help arrange your bedroom and your bed, what science tells us about sleep and dreams. There's some information in here about lucid dreaming, lots of quotes, and just a beautifully designed book that I think is quite dreamy. So some of the inspirational quotes I shared at the beginning are in here as well. So nice little book for yourself to keep by the bed and read a little and fall asleep. So to close, I would love for you to just take a moment and think back on, we talked about a lot of things, it's a lot of information to take in. So I'd like you to put in the chat one thing that you might commit to tonight, or one thing that you're going to take away from this talk that you'll take with you into your sleeping and dreaming practice, right? Sleeping and dreaming is something we can get better at. So each night we practice. Some nights are better than others. So put into the chat one thing that you might do differently. The alphabet meditation, great. Set that intention, great. And the earlier bedtime, yeah, so I suggest with the bedtime, really back yourself into it. So if you decide I'm going to bed at 10, then work backwards. What do you have to be doing at 9 in order to get into bed at 10? But that's great. The gratitude, if that's the one thing you come away with, I will be very happy. You know, count your blessings, count your gratitudes instead of sheep. Good. I'm glad that some people are going to let go of some of the worry. I think that a lot of the sleep information we get makes us more anxious instead of less. Make it your goal in bed to relax and to be nourished. Don't worry so much about how many hours you're getting. Just get rid of that. You'll notice I didn't even mention how many hours you should get. I feel like counting anything is just stressing us out. So just focus on making it feel good. Yes, so the preparation, the changing into the pajamas mindfully, beautiful. Yes, using the light and the dark meditation. Nice. This is great. I'm really glad that that you got something out of this that you can take with you in a practical way so that you can have a sweet night and good dreams. And I would love to stay in touch. Take good care, my friends.